Welcome to this lecture where we dive deep into filtering out layers. Sometimes working in Photoshop is all about making your life easier. That's exactly what this layer filter system is going to do for you. Let's use this PSD as an example because it's pretty big. We saw how we could identify stray layers here and there, and we talked about how each layer type has a distinctive symbol. If we focus our attention at the top of our layers panel, we'll be able to recognize them. In order, each icon represents raster layers, adjustment layers, text, shapes, smart objects. If I click on the first one, this is going to show me all the raster layers from this project. Through this option, we can easily rename, group, or edit them in various ways. Once we're done, we have to press this icon again so we can return to the normal viewing mode. Let's enable the shape filter layer, and I'll show you how I use it in real projects. Here I have several base shape layers. If I select them and move them around on the canvas, I can identify them as being these white rectangles. Notice they have a shadow effect, but I'm not in love with it, so I'd rather get rid of it. This is where these filters shine. Instead of going through potentially hundreds of mislabeled layers, this cuts my work down tremendously. Now I'll right-click and I'll choose Clear Layer Style. Fantastic. Please note that once this filter is active, you can see this red button show up in the top right. This means you won't be able to select any other layer that doesn't currently fit this particular filter. Let me show you what I mean. Say I want to move all 4 white rectangles along with this headline. I'll hold Ctrl and Shift and I'll click on it to select it as well. As you can see, nothing happens. When I move them to the side, only my rectangles get repositioned, and that's because this text layer didn't get selected. If I perform the same action on this button, I immediately grab it from the canvas. And that's because other layer types can't be selected while this filter is active. Let me drop the Shift key, and I'll just hold Ctrl so I can try to select just one text layer. As you see, I'm getting this error. If that happens to you, make sure your filter is not active. If you want to disable it temporarily, you can click on this red button. Now I can select this headline and move it up. Now I'll re-enable this filter and I can continue working on the project. Okay, so far we've used its default setting, filter by layer type, or what Photoshop calls it here, kind. One of the most useful ones from this drop-down is name. This is why I'm constantly asking you to label your layers properly. I know all my white rectangles are called base, so I'll write that in. Now I can focus my attention only on them. This is fantastic for large projects because if you stay consistent in your layer naming, you can perform mass actions quickly. Even if you don't rename them, here's what you can do. I'll write rounded, which is added automatically for every rounded rectangle on the canvas. Here I have several buttons, so I'll most likely get them here if I didn't rename them. Of course, you may be wondering, how do you know which is which? Well, that's why we had a separate lecture on identifying layers. In this case, I'll use Ctrl-0 and I'll resort to technique number 3, creating a selection by Ctrl-clicking their thumbnails. And the first one in the Layers panel is the last on my canvas. As I move down in this panel, I can see how each button lights up on the canvas. But say you have no idea what your layers are called. All you remember is they had a stroke effect on them. Not a problem. From this drop-down list, we'll choose Effect, and to the right, we have all the available layer styles in Photoshop. Here I'll choose Stroke, and here are all the layers that match my search. As you can imagine, this is a very powerful tool for any user, but there's one feature in particular that I love, and that's Attribute. The name may not tell you a lot, but if we enable it, we'll see another filter show up. This list is huge, and through it you can select just about anything you'd like. For example, if you're in the habit of creating lots of layers, some of them may remain empty. Well, this filter has your back. Enable it, and they'll show up. This makes it very easy to clean up your PSD. If we click again, we'll also see Not Visible, which targets hidden layers. This is something you'll do a lot. You'll duplicate a layer for insurance purposes just in case you screw up, but you do a good job and you carry on with the project without deleting that hidden layer. Well, this filter comes to your aid, and it's huge. The last one I want to discuss is color. This doesn't refer to the color of a layer per se, instead it looks at its label. Here I have a few that are red and some that are yellow. Through this filter I can isolate them and focus my attention on them. And you get the idea. This filter system is fantastic, and what I've showed you are some of the most popular options from it. Next time you end up with a messy project, this is for you. And with that, we've concluded this lecture. See you next time.